Right, back again. So what we've got is 2010 Hyundai i10, right? That bad boy in the background. It's only done 50,000 miles, but the subframe has rusted out. And I'm going to show you what it is and how to change it. See, back of the subframe, it looks a bit corroded, but look at that. Well, there's nothing holding that bolt in. With the wishbone moves, that bolt just shifts around. So that's what happens to these things. It's the back wishbone bolt. See if you can see that properly. That one there. So if you're ever buying one of these, look on that. That's the driver's side, right? And they all go on the subframe. See, that's just terrible. Brand new subframe for it there. Brand spanking new. We're going to show you how to fit it. By the way, don't forget to subscribe, because if you keep hitting subscribe, then I get to make more videos like this and we can keep learning stuff. So hit that button, costs you nothing. Thank you guys. Shiny, that looks like the right one. We've got our exhaust mounts here, rear engine mount there, and this is the area that goes. Nice and shiny, I'm happy about that. So first job, disconnect the battery, obviously. I've jacked it up a good way because you're going to have to drop the subframe quite some distance to get the thing out, right? So now we'll go underneath, we'll have a look what we need to undo. Okay, so here we go. Right. First and foremost, I can see that the exhaust is in the way, right? So there's a couple of nuts on it on the bottom there and that side there. This is the lambda sensor. I strongly advise you don't try and undo it from there. That's just, you know, they never come undone. They're notorious. What instead you should do is follow the wire up, unplug it. Then when we drop these two and those two, see, they're the rear engine, the exhaust mounts on the subframe I was talking about. So when we drop the subframe, everything's going to come down. The exhaust's going to come down with it. So that's going to need some slack on that cable. The other end of the cable is there. Do you see that? Right down there. So it's this one, right? I don't know if you can see that with the torch. I'll shift my torch. It's there. So there's a couple of cables at the back here. Make sure you've got the right one first. I've traced this. I know this is the right one. It's the grey one, and it's the bit that's attached to the metal. What you want to do, you want to get a little pry on the bottom, pop it off. So that's the other end of the plug. I've undone the plug. This is the end I'm interested in. I might lose it down the back of the engine, so I might tie a bit of string to it first and just have it over here, so at least I can retrieve it at the end without too much difficulty. Okay, so we've got the two exhaust bolts. You can see them missing up there. Look, that one and that one. They're 17s, and for me, they came out of the stud, which means they came out of the, let's see if we can focus on that, on the thread the other side rather than coming down the crusty thread that side. That's fine. It's the same difference. They'll go back in the same. They are super tight and also very rusty, so just go easy with those. I soaked the bottom with WD. You see that had absolutely no point whatsoever because it came out the top, but still, like to do things properly. So that's off now. You can see it. It moves. It's just hanging on the exhaust hangers over there. That's cool. That'll come down with the subframe. We'll deal with that in a bit. Next thing you want to do, next thing I've done, while I was down here at my tools, I thought I'd take the rear engine mount out. Okay, so they are 14 mils because you're going to need to take it out from this side, right? But it's quite tight. What you need to do is gaff hold of the engine and pull it towards the front of the car, right? Just gently, watch it move. Okay, so I'm gonna just gently pull the pressure on that and then undo the bolt there. That's quite a lot of movement for that rear engine mount. I'm not really happy about that. All I've done is loosened that. It shouldn't really move that much. Still, I'm gonna take that out. Next thing to do, it looks like, is the steering column. So the steering rack, oh, you see that? There's that silver thing in the background underneath that heat shield, look. Of course, the bolts go down from upstairs. Cool, thank you for that. And there's no access to it whatsoever. To me, that means it's got to come down with the subframe and we'll change it when it's there. That's also not a big deal if it flops down with the subframe. Kind of come too far because if you want to leave it attached to the ball joints that side. So next thing I'm going to do is set the steering dead center, get into the driver's footwell, and I'm going to start undoing the steering column. I'll show you how to do that too. Okay, so that is dead blooming level, right? So what we're going to do, you come under here, and if you look, that is the steering column knuckle, and there facing you is a beautiful 10mm bolt. That releases the clamp on the spline, and then that should allow the subframe to come away from it. That's what we're going to do. We're going to undo that. I'm going to mark it with Tipp-Ex first. It looks like it's already been done. That's probably when the last clutch was done. But yeah, so we're going to pull that out, mark it up, and then that's the next step done then. So, my bad, the bolt inside under the steering rack is a 12mm, not a 10. And next job you got to do, you've got to take the anti-roll bar drop links off, 14mm from there. They bolt on something like that through there. Obviously the anti-roll bar is mounted to the subframe, so that's all going to come down together. So we're going to need to take that off both sides. I'm going to replace them just because when I've taken them off, it's a matter of course. Next job, we can start to loosen the big subframe bolts, which are that one there. They've given you a nice little hole there. That one there at the back, and the same the other side, right? You're going to need a long reach 19mm socket, which I have. Right, so the subframe started to come down now. Let's see if you can see that. There you go. I've undone it a little bit on all four corners, starting to come. Important, you've got to check in here. Just make sure that this clamp is sliding off nicely, which it seems to be. See that? Got some splines exposed and my marks have moved. That's all looking good. Okay, so we can go down a little bit further, see what happens. So I've come down a bunch more on the subframe. I've got all the nuts loose now, all out in fact, held up on a jack in the middle there, look. Decided to take the exhaust off and have it hanging. The cable in there, you can see it just about in the background there. You do need to unclip it from the clips, otherwise it snags. Just double checked in here, and that has pulled off lovely. See, that is what it looks like, what you're left with. Right, and you can see my marks there, obviously. That hasn't moved, that's beautiful. Steering wheel's still straight. So now we're going to go ahead and lower the subframe, I hope. Start with that ball joint, hopefully not destroy it, okay? So this is what it looks like now. Hanging free as a bird, look, down like that. So exhaust underneath, plenty of slack on that cable, just enough on the steering rack, look at that. Now I've got lovely access to the bolts, so I'm going to undo those, suspend the steering rack where it is, and then take the subframe out, swap the wishbones over, and then yeah, put the new one back on. But yeah, that's just as far as you get. There's just enough play on those, I think. I'm going to try and take that off now, take the steering rack off and leave it where it is. See how she goes. Right, there we go. Old subframe removed. Wishbone still on. I know I was going to try and take the power steering rack off first, but I just thought the anti-roll bar's got to come off as well. I just took the ball joints off instead and popped the whole lot off. I'll just swap it while it's on there. It's probably a lot easier rather than trying to do it while it's all dangling in the air. So what I'll do now, I'll swap all the components onto the shiny new one. They look very, very similar, which is good. And then I'll show you what it looks like, and then I'm going to start refitting it. I'll tell you if I've got any problems with it. Looking good though. Right, that's all refurbished now. Time to stick it on the car. And there you go, all back together. Brand new subframe on it. Shiny, shiny new. Hopefully that gives it a good few years left. While I was here, I've noticed a gearbox oil leak as well, coming out that drive shaft. So always worth paying attention while you're under here. All I've got left to do, stick it on the floor, connect the battery, and I am done. So that's how to do it, guys.